Welcome to the second video of the playlist, which is Monolithic versus microservices. Okay, or you can say a discussion about the architecture pattern. Okay, so these are the two most famous architecture design which is being followed in the industry, and all the products which we are being created, or any tech giants product, or anything which you are creating based on these two types of architecture pattern only. Okay, so I will start with monolithic, and most of guys you must know about monolithic too. Okay, but I will put my own perspective and my own understanding. Okay, so what happens in monolithic? So there is a client, okay, and he makes a request to a server, okay, and the server made a request to a database if there is any database call, okay, and the database will send its response whether there is an update query, there is a create query, delete query, or whatever, there is a joins to a server, and the server will send the same to the client. Okay, let me add a label so it can clear out more. So here comes the client, okay, here comes the server, okay, and here comes the database. Okay, client, the server, and the database. Okay, so what happens in this? So there is a client made a request to a server, then if there is a database call, it goes to a database, and the database respond to a server, and then it's go to the client. If you see here, if we talk about the pros and cons of the same, right? So the pros will be like it's a very easy to set up and develop. Okay, anybody with a basic language, or a basic knowledge of the server can do the same. Okay, he just need to take a backend code and dump into this server, okay, and connect with the database. Okay, and if you see here, it's a simple deployment technique. You just need to all focus on this server only, okay, and all the dedicated things will be going on to this server only. Okay, so let's talk about what cons it will be having. Okay, if you see, the first thing which will be happen is the scalability of this particular thing. Okay, how scalability will impact? Let's say I need to add any feature. Okay, so like any features which can be well written in Python. Okay, let's say, but my whole current application is running over node.js. Okay, so I can't dump this Python code or integrate both of them together into it, right? So it will be a limitation of the same. Okay, and if say, let's say this is my server, okay, and there is single server which is serving all the clients. Okay, what if this server goes down? Okay, so there is like a huge spike in CPU utilization, which the CPU utilization surpasses and achieve up to 100%, or there is a hard disk space issue, and a lot of things can be done, happen to a server. Okay, like there is a hard disk fault or something like this, your whole application will be down, because all the requests which we are coming, it's like routed via single server only. Okay, and if it goes down, okay, everything will goes down. Same with the case of database. If, because you are using here a centralized database, right, and if this centralized database goes down, your complete application will be like start working unexpectedly, or will go down along with that. Okay, and if another cons, if you see here, if let's suppose I have a login API, and there is a sign up API, and there is a forget password API, and a change request comes from the client, or I have now I want to make a reset password only by email only, not with the phone number. Okay, so I will change some validations and some queries and something like this. But if you see here, I am only changing the reset password or forget password functionality, right? Not impacting the sign up login or anything else. Okay, but if I'm going to redeploy, okay, I need to to the deployment of complete application, right? Because everything is resides into a single folder or a single zip, you can say. Okay, so these are the mainly pros and cons of the monolithic application. Okay, but it doesn't mean we always need to follow a microservice pattern due to this concept. It's all depend on your use cases. If like there is limited limited number of users your application is having, and like there is a very less kind of load is available, what you can do for managing the load and something like this, you can add a load balancer here, right just before the your server. Let me create a load balancer here. Okay, so like in my opinion, don't just jump into any architecture pattern just because it's trending, right? Always do what it's needed. Okay, before moving to the microservices, there are a lot of things you can do, okay, to manage load, okay, the request, okay, and lot of the stuff. Like if you are facing let's I'm taking a simple example. Let's say you are facing a load issue, like lot of request is coming up. Okay, so you can add a load balancer here. Okay, so let me label it down, load balancer. Okay, and this load balancer can be of two types. If we are using UDP, so it will be layer 4 load balancer. If you are using HTTP, so it will be like layer 7 load balancer. Okay, so what it will do, when the client is sharing any request, it will first go to the load balancer. Okay, and the load balancer will be having some kind of algorithm. It can be like round robin fashion. Okay, it can be a least connectivity. Okay, it can be on sticky sessions and lot of things. Okay, so the first it will go to the load balancer, and behind the load balancer there will be a lot of servers, right? Let me turn off the servers here. Okay, and what it will do, the request will first go to the load balancer. Then the load balancer, let's say it's having an algorithm of round robin, and we are using the HTTP protocol, so it will be a layer 7 load balancer. The client will first send the request to the load balancer, and the load balancer will first go, the request will be served to the first server. Okay, then again a second request is coming up. Okay, so now the request will go to the second server. Okay, again there is third request is coming up, it will go to the third. Okay, again fourth request will be coming up, it will now again to the gone to the first server. Okay, so if you see, it's a round robin fashion, right? Each after accepting one request, then go to the next, then come again to the first. Okay, so this is a basic very basic pros and cons of the monolithic architecture, which I have explained. There are a lot of things also, but I have taken up the basic monolithic and microservices pros and cons things. Okay, so now we will be moving on to our next topic, which will be the microservices. So stay tuned, and let's move on to the next lecture.